All right, so we are diving into The Electric State this time. It's this haunting novel by Simon Stålenhag, and it's illustrated, we talk about too. But it's about a teenage runaway Michelle and her journey across a pretty desolate, futuristic America with her robot companion, Skip.
Yeah, and I think what really grabbed me about this book is how Stålenhag kind of just throws you right into this world. You don't
Yeah.
get a ton of exposition or backstory.
Right.
You're just kind of piecing together what happened to this society based on these incredible visuals and these little bits of text you find along the way.
It's like a puzzle almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
you're an archaeologist or something uncovering these clues to a lost civilization.
I love that. And I was just captivated by the visuals. I mean,
Oh, they're amazing.
talk about eerie and desolate. It
Yeah.
really feels like you're driving through this decaying, overgrown world,
Mhm.
and there are these remnants of advanced technology just kind of scattered everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, like these massive drones half buried in the sand or abandoned highways stretching into the distance. And
And it's beautiful, but it's also unsettling.
yeah, definitely unsettling. And I think that that feeling is heightened by the fact that Stålenhag never really explains why everything is in ruins, like what happened. What was the role of technology in this downfall?
It's such a good point, and it just leaves you wondering,
Yeah.
like, what happened here?
It definitely sparks the imagination.
For sure. So Michelle and Skip, they're traveling westward, right?
Yeah, across this landscape that's almost like a ghost of America's past.
You see these abandoned gas stations in decaying suburbs, these little hints of a life that used to be there, and it just makes you think.
Yeah, and I think that's where the classic journey westward trope gets really interesting because traditionally, it represents hope and new beginnings, but
But not here.
not here. It's almost like a pilgrimage through the ruins of the American dream.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And it makes you question what progress really means, when technology has advanced so far, but society has crumbled. It's like, what's the point of all of this technology if we've lost something essential along the way?
Exactly.
So we have this really desolate landscape, this sense of mystery about the past. But then we have Michelle and Skip's relationship, which is like a bright spot in all of this darkness.
Absolutely. Their bond is at the heart of this story, and it really makes you think about what real connection means in a world where technology seems to have isolated everyone.
And Michelle, she's so quiet and stoic.
Yeah, she's this tough but vulnerable teenager.
But she finds solace in Skip, this bright yellow robot. And I love that visual detail because
Yeah, the yellow really pops.
it does. And it represents this glimmer of warmth and hope amidst all this gray and decay.
It's a reminder that even in the bleakest of settings, human connection, or in this case, human-robot connection can still exist.
That's so powerful. And their dynamic really made me think about our own relationship with technology. You mentioned that the book kind of throws you into the story.
Hmm. And it made me think about how we often just dive headfirst into new technologies without really understanding the potential consequences.
Oh, that's such a good connection.
Yeah.
You're totally right. The book doesn't explicitly condemn technology, but it definitely makes you think about the potential downsides.
Like, are we losing something in our pursuit of progress?
Yeah, are we sacrificing real human connection for the convenience of constant digital interaction?
And I think we see that most clearly with Center, the virtual reality system that's consumed this society.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like a cautionary tale about how our desire for escapism and constant connection can actually lead to isolation and disconnection in the real world.
It's like Stålenhag is holding up a mirror to our own obsession with screens and social media.
And what's really striking is that he does all of this not through lengthy explanations, but through these really subtle visual cues.
Right.
You see people plugged into the system everywhere, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow of the VR headsets.
It's almost zombie-like.
Yeah, it's creepy, and it creates this haunting sense of detachment from reality.
It's like they've chosen this virtual world over the real one, but
But then again, when you see the state of the real world, it's not hard to understand why they might want to escape.
right. I mean, who wouldn't want to escape this desolate wasteland?
Exactly. And that's what makes the book's social commentary so powerful.
It really makes you think.
It does. It's not just a sci-fi adventure. It's a reflection on the choices we make as a society and the potential consequences of those choices. And it makes you think, are we headed down the same path?
It's a question we all need to be asking ourselves.
For sure. And it's not just technology, right? Like there's this underlying sense of something else going on.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, the book touches on these themes of consumerism, environmental destruction, the loss of human connection. It's like all these different issues are kind of intertwined, and they've all contributed to this societal collapse.
It's like this perfect storm of problems.
Exactly. And I think Stålenhag is saying that technology is just one piece of the puzzle. It's a catalyst for sure, but the real root of the problem lies in our own choices.
Yeah.
Our values.
Our priorities.
Yeah, exactly. Our priorities. And that's where the art comes in because it's so powerful in conveying these complex themes.
Their art is just incredible. I mean, it's not just illustrations. It's like each image is a story in itself. I found myself lingering in every page, just soaking it all in.
Me too. There's so much detail to discover.
The rust on the abandoned cars, the overgrown vegetation reclaiming the cities. It's both beautiful and heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Stålenhag's style so unique. He blends this hyperrealism with these subtle touches of surrealism.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, you have these familiar scenes, these everyday objects, but then there's this giant rusted drone hovering in the background or these strange biomechanical creatures lurking in the shadows.
It's like he's taking something familiar and making it just slightly off, which creates this really unsettling feeling.
Right, like something's not quite right, and the color palette plays a huge role in that too. It's mostly these muted tones of grays and blues.
Very melancholy.
Very melancholy, evoking the sense of decay. But then you have these pops of yellow like Skip's paint,
Oh, yeah.
which immediately draw your eye and represent this glimmer of warmth and hope amidst all the darkness.
It's such a powerful contrast, and it really makes those moments of humanity stand out.
Exactly. And I think the way Stålenhag uses color is very deliberate. It's not just random. He's drawing your attention to specific details like Michelle's backpack or the glow of a fire in the distance.
It's like he's guiding your eye, telling you where to look, what's important.
Yeah, and the interplay between the text and the images is so masterfully done too.
Oh my gosh, yes. The writing is so sparse, almost poetic.
It leaves a lot of room for interpretation, and I think that's intentional because it allows the visuals to really take center stage.
It's like the text is whispering in your ear while the visuals are shouting from the rooftops.
I love that analogy. It's so true. And that brings us to the narrative structure, which is also quite unique.
Yeah, it's not your typical linear storyline. It's more like a series of fragmented memories or snapshots.
And I think that's really interesting because it mirrors the fragmented nature of the world itself.
We're getting these glimpses into Michelle and Skip's journey, but we're never given the full picture.
Which adds to the mystery and the unease.
It's like we're piecing together the story alongside Michelle, trying to make sense of this broken world.
And that fragmentation also forces you to slow down, to linger on the images, to absorb the details.
It's not a book you can just speed read. You have to savor it.
Exactly. And I think that's what Stålenhag wants. He wants you to really experience this world, to feel its weight, and to think about it.
The book definitely makes you think. It doesn't offer any easy answers or solutions.
It leaves you with a lot of questions.
And I think that's part of what makes it so powerful. It stays with you long after you finish reading it.
Absolutely. It's a book that invites multiple readings, multiple interpretations, and I think that's what makes it so rewarding. It's not just entertainment, it's an experience that challenges you to think critically about the world around you.
And speaking of challenging, let's talk about the ending, because it's definitely not your typical happy ending.
Yeah, it's more of an open ending.
Which I think is fitting, because the book is really about the journey, not the destination.
It's about Michelle's search for meaning and connection in this broken world, and whether she finds it or not is ultimately up to the reader to decide.
It's not about finding all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. That's such a powerful message, especially in a world that's so obsessed with instant gratification and easy solutions.
Totally. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important journeys are the ones that don't have a clear destination.
And that's what makes Michelle and Skip's story so compelling. It's a journey of hope, of resilience, and of the enduring power of human connection, even in the face of overwhelming darkness.
Beautifully said.
And it's a journey that's beautifully rendered through Stålenhag's haunting visuals and evocative prose. This book is a masterpiece of dystopian storytelling, a visual feast that will stay with you long after you've turned the last page.
One thing that really stuck with me after finishing The Electric State was this feeling of nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even though it's set in this futuristic world, there's something about the imagery that just evokes this longing for the past.
It's like Stålenhag is tapping into our collective nostalgia for a pre-digital age.
Totally.
Like those decaying roadside diners, the abandoned cars, the vintage electronics. They all hint at a world we've left behind.
A simpler time.
Yeah, a time that felt more tangible, more connected.
And it's almost like he's saying that in our pursuit of progress, we've lost something essential. And I think that loss is reflected in Michelle's character, too.
Oh, absolutely. She's a teenager, but there's this weariness about her.
This sadness, almost.
Yeah, like she's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders.
Like she's seen too much.
Yep.
Exactly. She's definitely an old soul trapped in a young body. And that sense of melancholy of loss, it just adds another layer to the book's emotional resonance.
It's powerful.
It is, you can feel it in her silence and her guarded interactions with Skip.
And that brings us to the book's social commentary, because while it's a work of fiction, The Electric State feels incredibly relevant to our own world.
Yeah, it's like Stålenhag is holding up a mirror to our society.
And saying, look, this is where we could end up.
Exactly. And what's so striking is how he manages to address these really complex issues.
Like what?
The dangers of unchecked technology, the erosion of human connection, the environmental impact of our consumerism.
All the big stuff.
Yeah, but he does it without being preachy or heavy-handed.
It's subtle.
Very subtle. It's all woven seamlessly into the narrative and the visuals.
It's like he's not telling you what to think. He's just presenting you with this world and letting you draw your own conclusions.
Right. And the scary part is it's not that far-fetched.
It's like we're already seeing some of these trends playing out in our own lives.
Our obsession with screens, our dependence on social media, our growing disconnection from the natural world.
It's all there.
And I think the book serves as a powerful reminder that we need to be mindful of our relationship with technology.
To use it wisely.
Exactly. We need to prioritize genuine human connection, and we need to be responsible stewards of our planet.
Those are some pretty big takeaways.
They are, but I think they're important ones.
Absolutely. So we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff today, but I'm curious, do you see The Electric State as a hopeful book or a pessimistic one?
That's a great question, and I think it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
There's definitely a sense of despair and loss that permeates the book.
Yeah.
But there's also this glimmer of hope, especially in Michelle and Skip's relationship.
They give me hope.
Yeah, it suggests that even in the darkest of times, connection can endure. And that maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to navigate these challenges and create a better future.
I love that, and I think that's a beautiful takeaway. The Electric State is a haunting and thought-provoking work that uses stunning visuals and a unique narrative style to explore these timely and important themes.
Yeah, it's a book that will stay with you long after you finish reading it.
It'll make you think about your own relationship with technology, the world around you, and the power of human connection.
So if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to check it out and see what you think.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive into The Electric State.
It's been a pleasure.
And we hope you found it insightful and engaging. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring the world of books and all the wonders they hold.